this chapel is sitting on a dungeon.
Yes.
Where slaves were kept.
Yes.
So as they are worshiping, people are crying
Slaves are
under.
down there. Yeah.
Oh my God. Let's take it again. Start again. The same gun they bought.
Yes, they use the same guns to kill the Danes.
To kill the Danes?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi everyone, today I'm in Osu. I'm in the Christiansborg Castle, which also used to be the presidential office for Ghana. And the Christiansborg Castle has a history that is truly linked with the slave history that we are studying. So today I'm here and I'm going to talk to Comfort. She's going to take us through some of the important events that happened here about slavery. And I don't even know what to expect. So hi, Comfort.
Hello.
How are you? My name is Chum.
Comfort. So
Comfort, nice to meet
welcome.
you. Thank you.
So please let's enter.
It should go.
Yeah.
So, okay. So what's this place?
So this is Christiansborg. First, I'll give you a brief introduction.
Okay.
And then tell you about what you are going to see before we enter the place to have a look at the place.
Okay.
So you're welcome to Christiansborg Castle.
Okay.
Also known as Osu. That's because the area is found in Osu. Rather than Christiansborg.
Okay.
So as I said earlier, before we enter, I'll give you a brief introduction. As part of the tour, you're allowed to ask questions as well.
Okay.
So the castle was built by the Danes, that's people of Denmark, in 1661.
Okay.
But before the Danes came here, the first people to have used here were the Portuguese. So the Portuguese arrived in Ghana 1471 in the central part here in a place called Elmina.
All right.
So later on, they recognized the immense wealth of the place, so they decided to stay there. 1482, they later built Elmina Castle, which is the first castle to have been built in West Africa.
Okay.
So they wanted to expand their territory. So around the 1550s, they had the Portuguese moving from Elmina. They came to Osu here, built a lodge, more like a storage facility, where they traded with the locals for so long, the locals of Osu. So they were here until 1652. So the castle changed through hands. We had the Swedish also here. They came, pulled down the lodge the Portuguese had built, replaced it with theirs. So it's more like a power struggle.
Okay.
They were also here briefly from 1652 up until 1659.
Okay.
When the Danes came, purchased the land from King Okwamu. He was the paramount chief of Accra. So they bought the land for 3,200 gold florins. So after they bought the land, 3,200 gold florins.
Gold
florins. That was the money they were using back in the day. So they named the place Christiansborg after their king, King Christian IV of Denmark, who was then in charge of Norway as well.
Okay.
So theirs was durable as compared to the others. They used stones in building the place. So as I said, everything wasn't built at once. As and when they needed spaces.
So if I'm right, the first settlers were the Portuguese.
Yeah, the Portuguese,
here, and then later to the Sweden.
Yeah.
They came to take over. Yeah. Then the Danes came to take over and made it big.
Yes.
Okay. So after they built this,
so the main purpose, they came to trade in gold and ivory until the later part in the 17th century, where there was the influx of sugarcane plantations in the Caribbean. So they needed manpower to go and work on the sugarcane plantations. So that was when the slave trade started.
That was when the slave trade started.
So initially, the dungeons we had here were storerooms created to keep the minerals and the gold. Then they converted them into dungeons when the slave trade started.
So it was still a storeroom anyway for storing human beings. Okay.
So aside the Danes being here, the castle changed through hands. The Portuguese were also here. They came here for the second time, 1679. They added a chapel. Later on in 1693, we had Ghanaians defeating the Danes occupying here. We call them the Akwamu people. They are from the eastern part.
The Akwamu people?
Yeah, the Akwamu
They defeated the Danes?
Yes,
and
then
occupied
took over.
Here?
Yes.
Okay.
So we'll get to know more about them as we move further.
Okay, sure.
We also have, in 1850, the Danes sold this castle to the British for £10,000.
Okay.
So the British, they were at Cape Coast. They moved their headquarters from there. Here became the headquarters for the British.
For the British.
Yes, in 1877.
1877.
So after the partition of Africa in 1884, they became our colonizers. So they were here ruling us from here until Ghana gained independence.
1844 in Berlin.
1884.
Okay.
Yeah. So they moved their headquarters from Cape Coast. They were here ruling us until we gained our independence in 1957.
By Osajefo Dr. Kwame.
Yes.
Okay.
So when we gained our independence, he decided to use it as a seat of government. And it remained so until 2013.
2013.
Yes. So the last president to have used here was Atta Mills.
Atta Mills.
So fortunately, he died whilst he was still the president in 2012.
Okay.
So we have our current president now, John Mahama. He was the vice president. So after the demise of Atta Mills, he became the president. So he moved the seat of government from here to the Jubilee House.
Jubilee House.
So from 2013, we've been using the Jubilee House till date.
Okay.
But before then, we had Kufuor. So Kufuor, when he was almost out of power, he completed the Jubilee House. So he reverted the seat of government from here to the Jubilee House. But Atta Mills brought us back here until his demise in 2012.
Okay.
As well. So when we enter, we have different things to see.
Okay.
So this is the main courtyard where the slave market was taking place.
Okay.
We have a number of dungeons as well, 12 of them, but we get to see just a few.
12 dungeons.
Yes, 12 dungeons in here.
So this was the slave market.
Yeah.
So this is just like Atoko slave market, Salaga slave market, and all the other slave markets that we see. Okay.
We also have the water system they created to collect rainwater for their domestic use.
Okay.
There is the Queen's room here. Queen Elizabeth II came to Ghana in 1961. So we have the room with the bed she used while she was here. There is Rawlings' office. He was our longest serving president and the only Ghanaian president to have used the old castle as his office.
Okay.
All the others, though they lived here, they administrated in the new castle.
Okay.
So the difference between the new and the old castle is that the old was added by the Europeans, the new was added after independence during Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's time. So when we are done with the
new
inside,
one is the one in front?
Yes, where he came from.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when we are done with the inside, there's a staircase that'll take us outside, which you mostly term as the door of no return.
No return.
So it's the last exit from the castle and then the African soil.
Oh.
So once you're out of the dungeon, they march you through that door. No, you're not going to come back. That is how come we coined the term door of no return.
Okay.
Did you have questions before we move on with it?
I think I'm ready for what to expect.
So before we go in, let's talk about the courtyard for a bit.
Okay.
The slaves were not only Ghanaians, they were from different West African countries. So once they get here, they are tired and worn out. Each and every slave had to be stripped naked here for inspection. The inspection is done to separate the weaker slaves from the stronger ones.
Okay.
They have to see if you are fit enough before you can be moved into the dungeon. So the weaker ones are treated for a while, you don't recover, you die. There's nothing like burial. They have to dump you into the sea. And back in the day, once you're a slave, you enter here, you've lost your identity. So they had to branch them. So the stronger ones are branded. So each and every slave merchant, they had their own symbol, which is a metal, to be placed in hot fire, placed against the slave skin. This is done for easy identification.
Okay.
So that when they pick you, they know who you belong to. So aside the branding, the inspection, different commodities were also in display. So West Africans provided the minerals like the gold, the ivory. From Denmark came more refined goods like the textiles, gun and gunpowder, schnapp, mirror. So more like an auction was taking place here. The humans were also considered as commodities. So they exchanged them in the form of barter trade. So after everything, the inspection whatsoever is done.
For schnapp,
exactly.
gunpowder.
Yeah.
So it feels so cruel because I have been privileged to retrace the footsteps. So I've been to Picoro, where Bagao and other 3 people were capturing the people, marching them to Salaga. That's like they walk for almost like 90 days to Salaga. And then from there, they are sold and walk about almost like 120 to 200 days to the south. And then, there's Fort Fredericksburg at Sesame, where they pass through all that way here. And after all that, they will brand them. Now, in Salaga and some other places, they were being branded. So is it possible that a slave could have 2 brands?
Yes, you could have more than that.
2 or 3 brands. Yeah. Because the one who bought you from Salaga came to sell you here to a different person. It's sad.
Okay, so before we enter, let me give you a little throwback as to how they were coming about the slaves.
Okay, tell me.
So before the Europeans came, we Africans had our own system of slavery, that's servitude, which is entirely different from the European type, which is the chattel slavery. So with the African slavery, you have some form of rights, freedom. So once you're a slave here, you can work your way out, gain your freedom, gain prestigious position in the community. They become kings and all that. Some also get to marry into the family they were enslaved in. But with the chattel way, your children, there's no way you're free. You're not going to be free, no freedom whatsoever. So your children even inherit your slave status as well. So when the Europeans came, we Africans had a lot of intertribal wars going on. We had a lot of warfares. We go to warfares, those who are defeated are brought home. where they get to work as farmers, artisans, domestic staff, and all that. So when the Europeans came, they exploited on this avenue. We had our own people being mediators as well. So the war captives were then sold off. We also have pawning or debts. For example, I'm owing you, I'm not able to pay. I use a human being as a collateral. It got to a time they were not getting slaves, so they then resorted to raiding or kidnapping. We had African slave raiders as well. They enter into the vulnerable communities, capture them, and then sell them off.
About Ture and Bagal and Co.
Yeah. We also have instances where human beings were gifted to others. Convicts were also sold up to slavery. We also have betrayal. An example, around the late 17th century, an incident happened in the castle where a Ghanaian man from Akwamu, he wanted to purchase some commodities here. So he came here, inspected the goods all right. He then realized he didn't have money to pay for it. So he came here with his wife. The wife was thinking she was coming to help the husband select the goods. But known to her, she was exchanged for the goods. So those are the ways in which they came about the slaves and all that. We also have tributes. For example, we have one kingdom protecting the other kingdoms.
Okay.
So a number of years, maybe 1 year or every month, you are supposed to give them slaves for the number of the protection they are giving you.
Wow.
So tributes to other kingdoms as well.
Wow. A lot has gone on here.
So please, do you have questions before we move on to the dungeon?
I think I'm ready to see the dungeon.
Okay, so as I said, everything wasn't built at once.
Okay.
When you look over here, we see the cipher of King Christian VII of Denmark.
Okay.
So 1797, that was added by the Danes. British added most parts. We have MCMXII, that's 1912 by the British. When you move on top, there's 1950, there's 1921, 1950 also here. So as and when additions were made, years were attached to them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So they just built it as of when there is need.
Yes, so each and every one added something when they occupied here.
Okay.
So we are heading into the dungeon for you to have a look in there.
It's a long way.
Yeah, I'd have to put up.
Oh, there's light.
Yeah.
You've modified it.
So this is one of the dungeons. So this dungeon where we are, it has the inner dungeon, and this is the outer one as well. So after the inspection, branding, this is where the slaves are being brought to. So once you enter here as a slave, you are not allowed to go out. Here served as everything for them. They eat here, poop, urinate, everything in here. So between 3 to 6 months, this is where the slaves will be.
This is where they will be.
Yeah. Most of them, maximum of
here.
60. Yeah, in each.
So if, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So literally like 12 feet. And then I just want to calculate something. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So literally like 15 feet. And then if I cut this side, maybe Pythagoras theorem will calculate something. Now, so 15 by 12, let me see. I want to check something. 15 by 12, that's 180. That's 180 square feet. Divided by 60. It means that every person has 1 square feet, which means you can't lie down.
No. So just like how they laid them in the slave ship was exactly how they were packed in here as well. So
for how many days?
No days.
Months?
Yes, between 3 to 6 months.
3 to 6 months.
Maximum of 6 months. Depending on how long the ships get to arrive, that's when they'll be transported.
Wow.
So once you get in here served as everything for them. Yes. So by the time the ships will get here, most of them are already dead. Some also become infected.
Was this their sewage?
Yes. So this is the latrine where they're supposed to poop, pass their stool, whatsoever. But due to the crowded nature, you're in chains and shackles. You're at the far end, you can't make your way here, meaning you do it right where you are. So males were separated from the females. They were not mixed together. So the slaves from here were sent to the Danish West Indies, which you now know it as the U.S. Virgin Islands. So St. Croix, St. Thomas, and St. John's. So that was where they were taken to go and work on the sugarcane plantations. So they later sold it to the U.S. in 1917. That is how come we now know it as the U.S. Virgin Islands. So as I said, according to their own records in Denmark, approximately 100,000 slaves came from Christiansborg alone to the Danish. Yes, according to their own records.
According to their own records.
Yes. So those that made it there were the prisoners
those that made
it
it
there,
alive.
excluding the dead ones.
And were these the commercial slaves or both commercial and domestic?
Yes. The commercial, those that were exported to go and work on them.
So those that went to work in houses were not even counted?
No, not counted.
That means that then the number will be more.
Yes, those are the approximately.
Approximately?
Yes.
Wow.
Those that made
Maybe
it there.
twice the number, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so the hole we have at the top
Yeah.
was serving as a source of sunlight. Then we have the window for ventilation as
This
well.
one.
So from the window, you can see the thickness of
Yeah.
the wall as well.
Look, come and see the thickness of the wall. Come.
So it
come.
wasn't opened as to how you're seeing it
Yeah,
currently.
come. See the thickness of the wall. Come, see. The wall is like 8 to 10 feet. No, George, come. Your camera is wider or something. No, George, come and see. No, wait. Suzo, you just stand here. Suzo, you be here. George, now, wider. Look from here. No, Suzo, you don't have to go out. Come. Thickness. This is about 7 feet tall. This is about 7 feet thick. I mean, why is the wall so thick?
So they had to fortify the place. The materials they use in building, stones and all that. So they had to protect themselves from both the locals and the Europeans as well.
So does it mean that every wall here is about this size, like 7 feet tall?
Oh, no,
it's just because this is the dungeon.
So the down part. So initially, as I said, they were storerooms.
Okay.
Yes, and then they were later converted into dungeons.
Dungeons.
So they fortified the place to keep the minerals and then the other abilities as well.
Wow, this is amazing because the wall is almost as big as the room. And here.
So I don't know if you visited Cape Coast, Elmina and all that. So here, because here was a seat of government, there have been a lot of modifications.
Okay.
And then currently the space is used as a storeroom. That is how come we have those things in here. So they are just additions.
Just additions?
Just additions.
Not the original?
Not the original.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see a smaller dungeon.
Smaller. So this is a bigger dungeon?
Yes.
Wow.
There's no light here.
There's no light, okay. So this is a smaller dungeon?
Yes. So that's also the inner and this is the outer. The shelves you see here are just additions because now here's a storeroom as well. So most of the slaves were retaliating, so they had to use them as an example. So they'll keep you in the inner chamber where there's no ventilation or whatsoever. So by the time they bring you out, either you're already dead or you're too weak to retaliate.
It's scary here.
Yeah. Please watch your head.
Yeah. George, do you want to come?
No light.
George, do you want to come in here? It's so scary, man.
Watch your head.
Watch your head. Look.
Can't see anything.
You can't see anything. It was really a punishment to be in here.
Your head.
Wow. These people are so wicked. You know, I mean, how can this be done? Like, how?
Watch your head.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me again. So how many people were kept
So
here?
here, maximum of 30 in each.
30 people?
Yeah, in the,
30 people?
yeah, in each maximum.
The people are wicked though.
So this is the second water system constructed during one of their Danish governors' time. His name is Carl Engman, that's down there, in the year 1753. So this served the same purpose as the first one we saw, just that this is bigger as compared to that one. Carl Engman was first a surgeon who came here to treat the Danish administrators, the governors that lived here, before he became the Danish governor from 1752 to 1757. During his
so he
time,
was a surgeon?
Yeah. Who came here to treat the Danish administrators, the governors
Those who
that
fall
were here.
sick?
Yes.
And later became the governor?
The governor, exactly. He married a Ghan princess from this town by name Ashiokai. That is how come when you come to Osu here, we still have names like Engman in our society till date. So the garden we have over there, archaeological always go on there seasonally. The lead archaeologist is called Rachel Engman. She also traced her route to Carl Engman, the Danish governor.
So how does it feel that your father was a slave master?
So definitely she wouldn't say her father, she'd be like her great.
Sorry?
her descendants.
Yes, so how
not
does she feel
direct.
like her descendant is a slave master? Like her however it is, how does she feel? I don't
Some
know.
people don't really feel that way. I wouldn't know how
You didn't
she's
know how
feeling.
she feels.
Yes.
I was just asking, maybe you've come across her, maybe
Oh, no.
she has expressed it before.
No.
She's not. Wow. I wish to talk to her one day.
So maybe Mr. Akwa will help you
Okay.
with that.
Okay, sure, I'll do
Yeah.
that. I'll talk to her one day. So,
Okay. So we'll
what
talk
are
about the
these?
staircase. These are all dungeons, but
These are all dungeons.
it's out of bounds.
It's out of bounds.
Yes.
Okay. It looks like.
Hey, you're leaving me.
I thought we have.
No, we'll talk about the staircase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So the staircase we have over here served as a presidential staircase.
Okay.
So middle one is always closed because it's mainly for our president only.
Okay.
Other presidents and dignitaries from different countries, when they visit, they're also allowed to use the middle one.
Okay.
With the public, we use the side ones.
side ones.
Yes. So when you take a look at our 50 Ghana CG notes, in 2007, this was the highest money we had,
Okay.
and this was the seat of government.
Okay.
So you find the staircase right here and the front view of the castle featured on the 50 Ghana CG notes. Now we have our highest money being 200 Ghana CG notes. You
yes.
find the Jubilee House on there. So it's
Okay.
always the seat of government on the highest money
Okay.
as well.
So can
You
I
have
walk past here
questions?
today?
No. So still, as a sign of respect, we still have it closed.
But it's open, it's not closed.
Yes, we always have stubborn one trying to work. You can, for pictures, we
No, I don't want to do for pictures. If it's not
Yeah.
right, I don't want to do it.
For pictures, you're
I don't
allowed
want
to
to do it for
stand there.
pictures. If it's not right, I mean, yeah, if it's not
So
right.
let's use both sides to go
Okay.
up.
Freedom and justice. Oh. So this part was built in a different year, right?
Yeah, the British.
The British built
Yeah,
this part.
20th century.
20th century. Where's the date? I can't see.
No, 19 something is 20th century.
Yeah. Now I wanted to find the exact 1950.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So the top part we have over here served as the official residence for our past president.
Okay.
So the last person who used here was in 2012 at Mills. So that is how come. So unfortunately, we don't have access in there because there haven't been any major renovations
Okay.
as well. So you can have a look at the view for a minute before we can show you.
So this is where where does the ship dock?
So we have a passageway through there. We'll go there shortly.
So where's the passageway?
Not here.
Not here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where we started from.
Where we started from.
There's a way
It's
through there.
actually a nice view. Oh, why going? Maybe you've enjoyed the view, so it looks normal
Yeah.
for you, but for me, I mean, it's breathtaking. Huh. So I think, you see the wall here is not as thick as the walls of the
I
dungeon.
don't know.
They were afraid of us, and they still do. They know we are powerful, we are strong. This looks like an important bedroom. Wow.
Okay, so where we are, this is the Queen's room,
Which of the queens?
Queen Elizabeth II.
Okay. The
So-
Great Britain Queen
Yeah.
Elizabeth
Yeah.
II. Okay.
So this room, Ghana gained independence 7th of March 1957.
Yes.
Then April 27th, 1960, there was a referendum that was passed
Okay.
for Ghana to transition into a Republican state.
Okay.
And then majority voted for yes.
Okay.
So 1st July 1960, that was when we transitioned to become
Republic.
yes.
Okay.
So Queen Elizabeth II was supposed to come, hand over officially to Dr. Kwame Nkrumah.
Okay.
Because as at the time we gained our independence, he was just the prime minister by then.
Okay.
Until the transition to Republican state.
Okay.
So he became the president 1st July 1960.
1950.
So
Okay.
she couldn't make it in 1960. She came a year after, which was in 1961.
Okay.
So this was the rare room she used while she was here.
Wow, she was
It used to be bigger than what you are seeing currently.
Okay.
A part of it has been used as a maritime office we have over
Okay.
there. Yeah.
It's like the whole place.
The whole place
her
was
bedroom.
mainly added for her coming.
Okay.
So later on, you know that Shimota Senior High School?
Yes, please.
So built during the British time.
Okay.
So during their 50th anniversary in 1977, her son King Charles also used here when he graced the occasion. So
Okay.
according to history of the castle, mother and son are the only ones to have used here, not even our presidents.
Wow.
So there have been a lot of modifications, changes. So the tiles, the sheets are just additions. So what we are showing here is the wood itself, the wardrobe, and the side lamps as well. We also have-
Other relics are not here.
No.
Okay.
So this is also the balcony. You can take a walk through there as well.
Can I open this door?
It's locked,
It's locked.
unfortunately, yeah.
Okay. I wanted to see what she would have seen when she stands out. Wow. Okay. So what is one of the remarkable memories that this place hold that is not known to many people from your experience?
The Akwamu story,
Okay.
yes. So it was a man he was the Nana Asamani.
Okay.
He helped them to, because we don't teach these things in school.
Okay.
Yes, so when we get there, you get to know what I'm saying with that.
Okay, sure.
As well. I think some people are okay. They're leaving.
The Akwamu's man is very powerful then. This is a chapel
Yes.
built by the Portuguese.
Yep.
Okay. It looks like the Portuguese were very spiritual. Everywhere they go, they build a chapel.
So they came purposely to. So what led Can I talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk.
Okay.
let's
So
talk.
what led to the Portuguese coming was that there was a doctrine called the doctrine of discovery.
Okay.
In Europe, where it was supported by Catholic Church. So they had the mandate to explore, dominate non-Christian countries. So that was what led the Portuguese to come.
The doctrine of discovery.
Yes.
Okay.
So that was led them to the central parts of Ghana, Elmina.
What
where
were they
settled
trying
there.
to discover?
So they wanted to just explore.
Okay.
And then dominate non-Christian countries. So they just
Dominate
wanted
them with
to spread Christianity.
Okay.
Yes.
So
and
like,
then
like missions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was what led them. So purposely to trade in gold. And then we also have the spread of Christianity.
Okay.
And then to influence other European countries, like to spread their, European, to influence other European countries as well. So they were here for so long. Before we had, around the late 17th century, we had other European countries like the Swedish, the Dutch, the Danes coming in to break the monopoly of the trade by the Portuguese as well. You're looking for it.
Yeah, because I
So
mean,
you can research more on that.
There's a misconception that many people are portraying as if that the Europeans brought Christianity to Africa, which is not true. Because even in the Bible that we read, Jesus Christ at a point came to Egypt, and Ethiopia had Bible from the 3rd and the 4th century in Ethiopia. So sometimes they make it look like...
So it's like, because we were not that learned, they just wrote our history for us.
They just came with what we know already to just trick people. God. Okay, so they built a castle this year.
Yes, so where as I said earlier, everything wasn't built at once.
Okay.
So in 1679, Portuguese gained access here. So they were here when the Danish governor, by name Johan Ulrich, got killed by his assistants. The assistants then got imprisoned by the Danes. So here was in chaos. They were not having a leader. Coincidentally, the Portuguese, who they were nearby, they came, took over this castle. And because they are Roman Catholics, they raised the bastions higher, added a chapel on top of one of the dungeons.
They raised what?
The walls.
Okay.
Higher. So they added the chapel on top of one of the dungeons.
Okay.
So while they
this chapel is sitting on a dungeon.
Yes.
Where slaves were kept.
Yes.
So as they are worshiping, people are crying
Slaves are
under.
down there. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So because they are Roman Catholics, they then changed the name of the castle from Christiansborg to St. Francis Xavier Castle.
So Christiansborg Castle became
Saint
St.
Francis
Francis
Xavier.
Xavier Castle.
Yeah. And then the chapel also bearing the same name.
So this is
as well.
St. Francis Xavier's Chapel.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what's the picture of this man?
So we'll get to that shortly.
Okay.
So while the Portuguese were here briefly from 1679 to 1683. Later on, they had to leave here because the Danes reported them to the King of Portugal as to how they took over. So they left here peacefully. The Danes came back, continued with their trading activities until 1693.
Okay.
So this picture we have over here, this Asamani of Akwamu. He became the first black governor of Christiansborg. So the Akwamu, where he is from, back in the day, they were the warlords of the coastal areas, very powerful kingdom. Both the locals and the Europeans feared them. And then they inherited from their maternal line. His uncle was a king by then, he was a prince. So in time, he became a cook for the Danes. So by being a cook for them, he studied them, got to know their weaknesses and all. He then returned home, came back with 80 men provided by his uncle. They then pretended to be traders coming to purchase guns from the Danes. And back in the day, when you buy the guns, you are made to test it in the courtyard before you take it with you. So known to the Danes, these people had hidden gunpowders with them. The same guns they bought, they used the same guns to kill them.
Wow. Wow.
So-
Master tactician.
So he took over.
Let's take it again. Start again. The same
Okay.
gun they bought
Yes, they used the same guns to kill the Danes.
to kill the Danes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he and his people took over the fort for a
The
year.
18
80
men.
80 men.
80 men.
Yeah.
Took over a whole castle full of armies. Only 80 men.
Yeah.
Do you have maybe estimated number of the Danes? that
So
were-
mostly their garrison consists of 40 people. And then back in the day, they trusted him. He worked for them.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't think that he would.
He will do that.
Exactly.
They took over in the grand style, Rambo style.
Then he made himself the first black
the
governor of
first black
Christiansborg.
governor.
So from 1693 to 1694, he ruled the castle.
Okay.
During his time, the slave trade still continued under him for the whole year. So after a year of him being here, the Danes wanted the place back. So they came negotiated with him and his people. He decided to leave the castle for them after he was paid 50 marks of gold. He gave them the castle all right, but while I was going, he took the keys of the castle to his hometown, Akwamu. So the same way you get to visit here, they have a small museum where they display the keys for people to come have a look at it. But during the shuffle between the Akwamus and the Danes, only one person survived, which was Nicholas Johnson, the Danish governor by then. So he had to jump all the way to Fort Quebecois. You know it's as Asha Fort now.
Yes, Fort Quebecois.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was the Dutch that were there. So they treated him of his wounds, helped him. Months later, they helped him to report to the King of Denmark that their fort had been conquered by a Ghanaian. So that was when they came and then negotiated with him for them to take over.
So it means that if we Africans, right, if we want to conquer, we can conquer. If we
Yeah.
want to be subdued, they can subdue us. Because this is so phenomenal to me. Like, you just come as a cook and later come and take over.
Yeah.
Boy, this happened in Jamaica too. I'll take it to Jamaica. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So currently, as I said,
So the key is at display at Akwamu.
Akwamu, yeah.
I will show you the key. Trust me, I'll show you the key. I'll go to Akwamu.
So yes, so you can visit and then have
I
a
will
look at
visit
it.
Akwamu.
So
And
not just so there's a bunch of
I'll find a
keys.
lot about this honorable
Asamani,
man.
yeah.
And then I'll find a lot about the key.
So when you're going to that Timpoko roundabout, there's a statue of him, by the
Okay.
way, one hand with keys, one with gun, to show that a man from their place became
Okay.
the first black governor.
I'll be there at Atimpoku.
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I'll
see
be
a statue, by the
I'll be
way.
there.
Yeah. So you know the Presbyterian Church of Ghana?
Yes.
This was where it started in 1828.
Okay.
So after the Danes abolished the slave trade in 1803, they started inviting missionaries over. So in 1828, that was when we had the Basel missionaries coming from Switzerland, coming to spread the word. Unfortunately, first 4 missionaries that came, they all died of malaria within the 3 years that they were here. Other missionaries were sent, 1832. We have 2
The
missionaries.
malaria that doesn't kill us, it kills them.
So formerly, Africa was known as the wise man's grave. A lot of them, due to the climates, they couldn't survive. Yellow fever, malaria was killing them. So in 1832, other missionaries were sent, 2 missionaries and a doctor to treat them in case they fall ill. But unfortunately, the doctor died.
The doctor died.
Together with the missionary.
The doctor
leaving
died.
Leaving just a survivor. So the survivor, he continued with his missionary works. Later on, he also fell ill. So he was advised by his friend, an unknown person. He was advised to go to Ebri, which he later became treated by an unknown herbalist as well. So he survived, he decided to stay there. That is how come when you go to the eastern part currently, we have a lot of Presbyterian schools and churches over there. During the Danish era, this was where they officiated the marriages between they themselves and then the West African men. So their children, who we refer to as mulattoes, this was where they educated them as well.
The Browns, the
half-caste.
Yeah.
So initially, when the Europeans arrived, they didn't know how to communicate with the locals. So it got to a time when they started getting involved with them, the language barrier was broken because the child gets to learn both the language of the mother and the father. They became the mediators of the trade as well. The Nata Mills, our last president who lived in a castle, here was a church for him. That is how come since you're Ghanaian, you know that during his time, people said he had turned a castle into a church. So that was the reason why he used to fellowship here. So this is why we have these drums here.
Okay, all right.
So we are heading
but
to...
I've heard the best story of my exposition today, and if I'm smiling, it's because of Asamani, how he took over the castle, the only black governor to ever do this and also stay alive. Wow. The story of Asamani is so refreshing.
But it triggers people that he still continued the slave trade.
I don't really care about that side, but I just think that maybe he didn't know more or whatsoever.
Back in the day, there was nothing like countries.
Yes.
So each and everyone was just protecting themselves.
Yeah.
Yes, so that was more like it.
And the fact that he can do this and go back alive with the keys, and they have to come and negotiate and beg him. It shows how, for me, it shows how powerful the African is, and it shows that just 80 people being one was able to take over a castle. So imagine that. I think that is why they did this Berlin thing to divide us and put borders in us, because if Africa unites and we are one, they know they cannot compete. They know they can't.
Okay, so as I said earlier, we had our presidents living in the old castle.
Yes.
But we have the small black star, that's the new castle, joined together with the old.
Yeah.
So they lived in the old, administrated in the new, except one Ghanaian president, Jerry John Rawlings. He decided to use the old castle as his office instead of using the new one. So we are going to go in there to find out why.
He is a strategic man.
Yeah.
I believe he had certain reasons and strategies to why he chose to use here as his office. Okay, we are here.
Yeah. Okay, so this office was added in 1921 during Governor Godgesberg's time. So he used it first. Later on in 1981, we had our very own Ghanaian president, Flight Lieutenant Jerry John Rawlings, deciding to use it for security reasons. He came to power through a military coup d'etat in 1981, where he overthrew Hila Liman, a civilian ruler, took over from him. So he had to be cautious about it. He chose it for security reasons, meaning that he could see all the way through the first gate. That is how come he decided to use him. He was our longest serving president, 19 years in total, 11 years military, 8 years as a civilian ruler. So both military and civilian years, he used it. So 1981 to 1992, he stepped down from 11 years military ruling, then 1992 to 2007, 8 years as a civilian ruler. He was a mulatto, half Scottish, half Ghanaian, mom Ghanaian from the Volta region, dad from Scotland. He was also a pilot.
Was the father also a slave master?
No.
Okay.
No.
So he was just a mulatto.
Yeah. So his dad is from Scotland.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the mom is a Ghanaian. Yeah. So he was also a pilot in the Air Force he was also a pilot in the Air Force. So when you come closer to the garden, where we have the cemented portion, it was serving as a helipad. So a spot for helicopter. There'll always be one there when there's danger, he can leave here to safety. So at the far end of the garden, we also have his bulletproof car also packed there. So when you're done with the tour, you can take a walk through. You have a look at it as well.
Okay.
So initially, the first coup d'etat he staged was in 15th May 1979. He failed to be imprisoned. He failed to be imprisoned 28th May of the same year. It was then adjourned to 4 June. But before the 4 June, he was freed by some soldiers the 3rd June. He didn't come to fully take over. He just wanted to do away with corruption and all that. So he came, elections were done. Hilary Man was in power for 2 years. He then realized his ruling was weak, corruption was still ongoing. So he came back later on, 31st December 1981, to fully take over until 2000, when he handed over as well.
Wow. That's for President Rawlings. I see. It's a beautiful office he has here. Can I take a picture here?
Yes, you can take
I can take a picture here. Can you use my phone to take a picture of me here, please?
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
So, can I touch it?
Oh yeah, you can sit.
I can sit. On
Yeah.
which one? This
That.
one? Okay. Wow. Thank you. I can sit here.
Oh yeah, you can sit.
Okay. Now I'm the president. Wow.
But due to the shadow, you wouldn't have it.
Yeah,
that
George,
way, but
come
okay.
close. I'm the president too. Let me call the president of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traore. Hi, Ibrahim. This is President Chum calling from Ghana. Wow.
So taking a lot. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
you would get one in there.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. It's so refreshing. First time I've sat in a presidential seat. So is that the same chair he sat on?
Yes.
That's the same chair President
Yeah.
Rawlings sat on. Wow.
So that's what he used.
Okay.
This one. Before we go to the door of no return, let me quickly tell you about the garden. Then from there, you can just take a walk through. So the garden we have over there used to be the home of the locals here, Osu, the indigents. So they had their thatch houses and everything there.
So the thatch houses are there?
No, I'm
They're not
getting to
there.
that.
Okay.
So they were there before the king decided to sell part to the Danes to build the castle.
Okay.
So the Danes were here, the locals were also there.
Okay.
1803, when Denmark stopped the exportation of the slave trade, they were the first country to do so. Initially, the act was passed in 1792, but it wasn't fully enforced until 1803.
Okay.
They then went into Tamarind plantation at the left-hand side of the garden,
Okay.
stretching all the way to Apokobi Sesame, different places as well.
Okay.
So around 1814, they lost Norway, which was then under them, to Sweden. So they experienced a lot of financial crisis, but they didn't still want to go. They were here until 1840s. They themselves recorded the plantation wasn't profitable as compared to the slave trade they were practicing. So in 1850, that was when they decided to sell this castle, together with the other forts they had, to the British for £10,000. So the British then occupied here. So while the British were here in 1852, they introduced taxes to the locals and its environs to pay, which is 1 shilling per person, men, women, children. The people didn't understand why strangers will come here, demand taxes from them in their own homes. So they refused to pay. 30th September in 1854, the British bombarded their homes, moving the people farther away from here, using one of their warships by name HMS Scotch to destroy the locals' home. So the garden you see there currently was done by the British after they expelled the locals.
Okay.
So currently the space is used for events, either weddings, birthday party, photo shoots, when you pay allowed to use the space. There's also a shrine in there. So you know, during the Homo festival, the Osu Alatas, they're allowed to come in here to pay homage.
What
to
is
the ancestors.
Osu Alata?
So that goes way back. We'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yes, talk about it later.
Osu Alata.
Yes. So there are a lot of controversies. Some are saying Nigeria. But you know, initially when the Portuguese came, they brought some workers to come and build their lodge.
Okay.
Yes. And then these people were from a place, they refer to them as strange. They're from Bengali. So they refer to them as Alada.
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 Yes. And then we corrupted the word to be Alata.
Alata.
I don't know if you've heard about stone tell stories at Osu.
Yes, I've heard about
Yes,
it.
so when you read more on that, you get more information about the origin of these people as well. I think some people are coming.
Okay. Is this the door of no return?
Yes, and it's a one-way something. Please, are you coming up?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Well,
I think. What do you want to do?
what is it?
This is a Rista tunnel.
Is what?
Rista tunnel.
Is what?
Rista.
Rista. What is that?
Do you want me to talk about it?
It's a tunnel.
But it's dark. It's just that.
What does it go to?
So this, according to history, is supposed to take you to, do you know Osu Gardens?
Osu Garden.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So there's a house there, Rista House. So it has a similar entrance to the castle we have over there.
Okay.
Yes. So do you want me to talk about it or like us?
What did they use it for?
Okay. So Rista was also a Danish slave merchant. So
Okay.
he had his home built about 600 meters away from here, had dungeons within his home where he kept slaves in there, then built an underground tunnel linking his home to the castle here. So that
Okay.
when the ships are ready, he can
transport
easily march them from his home, pass them through the door of no
He's a
return.
Dane.
Yes. So he acted as a representative of the Danish governor from time to time. That was how come he linked his home to the castle here. So when the ships are ready, he can easily march them.
Wow.
In 1862, there was an earthquake which affected most parts of the castle. So after the earthquake, that part is blocked. It's no more leading to his home and back. Though the house is still there, it was deeply affected by the earthquake as well. But we have descendants living there. People
Okay.
still visit to know more about the building and all
Okay.
that. He had 2 legitimate children with a woman from
How
this
many
town.
children?
2.
2. Okay.
Yes, with a woman from this town.
Okay.
So later on, he acknowledged the kids in 1809, introduced them to the trade. So they also continued after their dad passed. So it was more like a family business.
Family business.
Yes. So people still visit.
And the name
to know
is
more.
what?
Rista.
Rista.
Yeah.
R-I-S-T-A.
No, Richter. Rista.
R-I-C-H-T-R.
Yeah. So when you go to the house, you see CR/HR 1809.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is
The door of no return.
wow. But now it feels like freedom. Walking out of this place, it feels like freedom
Yeah.
for me now.
Okay, so we are at the door of no return. So the staircase we use is made in a spiral form. They
Okay.
made it that way so they can count the number of slaves coming down, one after the other.
The other.
2 people cannot use the staircase at a go.
Okay.
So once you're a slave, you come out through here, no, you're not going to go back. So that is how come I said we now have the door of no return. And most of the slaves were from the inlands. They've not come across sea before. So definitely when you get here, the mere sight of seeing it scares them. There's no way they can swim as well. So even if you can swim, you're chained to about 10 people, you can't navigate your way through. So once they get here, smaller boats will be here, they convey them to the bigger ships in the middle passage. So either you survive it, make it to the Danish West Indies, or you die along the way. 1619, according to history, was when the first slave ship left Africa to America, Virginia specifically. So 1619 to 2019, that marked 400 years. That is how come in 2019, Ghana government initiated something we call the Year of Return. So wherever the diasporans are, they're allowed to return home. Most of them don't know where they're coming from. They're still tracing their roots. So Ghana made it possible for them to return home. In 2020, a similar thing was introduced, which we call Beyond the Return, signifying the same thing as a Year of Return in 2019. So this will be held every decade. Probably in 2030, there might be another one as well. During JJ's time, we joined something we call the Emancipation Day. So initially, this was celebrated in the Caribbean to mark the end of the chattel slavery in the British colonies in 1834. So Ghana was the first and only African country to have joined in 1998 to reaffirm that the diasporans can return home. So when we joined, 2 remains were brought to represent us here. We had Lily Crystal from Jamaica, Samuel Cassin from US. They were already dead and buried, but their remains were exhumed, placed in a boat, just like how they were transported during the slave trade era. So they used them to pass through the Cape Coast door of no return. That is how come the chains are broken when you come to Ghana here. The door of no return is now door of return, and they are buried at Asamani, which is an essential part here in Ghana. And then in 2019, during the Year of Return, unknown remains from Barbados were also brought, buried alongside the 2 others. So when you visit Asamani, you see 3 tombs over there. So this is the end of the tour. Unless you have questions, then we continue.
Well, I think personally, I would say I've been worked on, because I'm a Ghanaian, I have my identity. My name is Chum Berema. Even when I mention my name, people can know where I'm from, my parents, my family, and all that, right? And always getting to know that people walk through a door and then they lost their identity, who they are, and they were commodified. And now looking at especially the Akwamu prince being able to do what he did. And right now I'm feeling angry. You know, I'm feeling angry like, so why if we can do that, why are we still like that, boxed? You understand? Like I feel very angry now, but anyway. So I think this is the time for freedom, and we are actually going to enjoy freedom. Thank you very much, Comfort.
You're welcome.
And you know what? Like, if you just want to experience this kind of places and all that, you can visit our website and just click on tours, and look, amazing packages are there, and you can come and then experience this. We also have our merch stores is also there. You can just click on store, and then any part of the world you can receive anything you order from our store. So today I just want to tell you that stay tuned. All right, stay tuned. This is the journey. We are still in Ghana. We are not done with Ghana yet, and we are going everywhere, retracing the the footsteps of our forefathers who were forcefully taken and enslaved. And because of them now, you say you are an African American, but I don't know if there's anything like that.